Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the Purveyors of Health. We do this every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Grateful to have you all here. My name is Angelo, and my co-host Mallory Murray here has booked a great guest for us this weekend. Mallory, what do we got going on this week?
Hi, everyone. We have Diana Min, Empowerment Coach. I'm so honored to have you on and hear what you have to say through your life experience.
Thank you, Mallory, for having me. Thank you, Angelo. I'm super excited to be here and just kind of share a little bit about my journey. It's something for me, I think, is everybody's story, really. And the more people that I speak to, the more I understand the similarities that we all have within overcoming our personal challenges, our struggles, our conditioning, right? Our pain that we all have to really work through in order to get to another side of our existence, and whatever that looks like for people, it's very different, but it's also very similar. And so for me, that really looked like overcoming a lot of abuse from my childhood. My mother was bipolar and I had borderline personality disorder because of that, all of the violence that I experienced as a child. I had PTSD, OCD, anxiety, depression. I suffered from alcoholism and drug addiction for a majority of my life. And, it wasn't until much later in my life would I really acknowledge that those were the things that were really keeping me in this prison of pain of my own suffering, and this loop that I continue to operate in of just being a victim and just really perpetuating that pain forward into my current reality and then subsequently into my future. And so, when I really came across sacred plant medicine, it was through one of my first initial healers, which was a shamanic healer who I worked with for about 6 months in New York, which is where I'm originally from. And through work with sacred plant medicine, through work with ayahuasca, I was able to heal myself of all of my addictions and, eventually all of my mental disorders and, all of my past trauma and the conditioning and all the different ways in which I was suffering. And, now I'm able, I've been sober now for 6 going on 7 years. I've been working with ayahuasca for about the same amount of time. And, I've really been able to transform my life through this spiritual work, and then being a transformational empowerment coach and helping other people heal through those same modalities, and really offering them an answer and a key to unlock themselves from their own personal prison of pain, and really giving them tools and just action steps forward on how to self-develop and how to self-heal and how to really overcome the things that have happened to us and the things that we have lived through and the trauma that we may carry. And, I've seen amazing results in the people that I've worked with and within myself. I continue to do that work within myself. And it's just really beautiful to be able to pay that gift forward, because I know how many other people are out there suffering and how much I was suffering, when I wanted to take my own life and really no longer it just exists, period. And so to be able to give that gift of a new life, a rebirth, essentially, to be renewed into the excitement of what life is really meant to feel like is been the biggest gift for me. And so really just following in my life's path and my life's work and paying it forward. So Angelo, I'm just getting your question. Can you explain what borderline personality disorder is? So it definitely depends on the spectrum that you're on, but borderline personality disorder is basically when you are just kind of, it's like a lesser form of bipolar for me. It's like really having a chemical imbalance in your emotions and in your thought patterns. And a lot of borderline personality disorder people tend to get a little paranoid, right? With people, they think that people are out to get them, and you can be somebody's savior one day, and then you can be like their worst enemy the next. And so just really being overall emotionally unstable and really just destructive and volatile towards the people around you.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to taking any questions. I feel a little bit like self-absorbed just up here sitting talking about myself. although I know it's it's an incredible story, but like I said, my story is not it's not special to me. Everybody has a story in which they've had to overcome a lot of challenges to become who they are now. And really those challenges can look like, for me, drug addiction, alcoholism, and mental disorders. But for other people, it can be abusive relationships, right? It could just be self-doubt, unworthiness, all these things that we all as humans have to work to reprogram our subconscious mind and really overcome, not only mentally, but emotionally, physically, spiritually, from the ways that we've been taught to be small and doubt ourselves. But the biggest truth is that we are greater than our minds can even really comprehend. And so to really step into that power, it takes a lot of courage to do that. So yeah, I'm open to taking any questions or anything that you guys want to know. I've been doing this work for a long time, so my library of knowledge is extensive, and so it's hard for me to see what's going to serve you as a container the best way I can be of service to you guys.
To narrow it down, maybe to discuss one of the things that you presented about the power of healing is important for manifestation specifically, I think would be a really good talking point.
Yes. Okay, so when we really understand that we are vibrational beings, right? And so we live in a vibrational world. And so understanding that the physicality of the things that we see, ourselves, our bodies, are just really illusions of the 3D mind. And so when we really tap into our own energy in order to create our reality, what we're doing is we're saying that, okay, I am vibrating. So let's say I have suffered trauma, and so I'm vibrating at in a victim state, lack and scarcity, unworthiness, paranoia, and fear, and these are very low vibrational frequencies. And so what are we going to then attract into our lives? Similar frequencies of that sort. So we tend to recreate and perpetuate our past into our future through the unconscious just being, right? Just not being aware that this is what we are actually doing to ourselves. And it seems like life continues to happen to us, but instead, we are actually creating that into our future. And so a lot of times what I see with my clients is understanding, okay, you are taking your past, pulling it from here, continuing to reverberate it vibrationally into your present and then into your future, right? Because your present is a result of your past thoughts, vibrations, and beliefs and frequencies. And so your future essentially is going to be a result of your present thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and frequencies. And so how do we then create a better future than what it is that we have experienced? Well, a lot of times it means getting out of the story of our past. And so how do we get out of the story of our past? We have to heal our trauma. We have to heal our nervous system. We have to heal our subconscious mind. We have to reprogram the way in which we perceive the things that have happened to me. Absolutely. Dr. Joe Dispenza is life-changing, Angelo. And so I think a lot of times people are sitting here trying to manifest things, but they don't understand that they're actually manifesting from a very distorted, energy field, because their trauma is actually disrupting the vibration in which is trying to raise them, right? Because what happens is we're trying to ascend and our trauma continues to pull us down. So it's always just coming in and it's a glitch in the computer system. How I like to view our brain as like an operating system, and the trauma that we've experienced are glitches and viruses and things that are not allowing it to run correctly. And so when we're trying to manifest, we're manifesting almost from a fragmented being, right? Because we're not whole. We have all these glitches that are just short-circuiting our system. And so as much as we're trying to stay positive and do affirmations and, you know what I mean, and make vision boards and all these things, there's so many blockages within ourselves from our trauma, our limiting beliefs, our the stories, right? Our hardened neural pathways of what we believe is true and what is possible. And so all of that will also stop the experience from actually manifesting into our reality. So how do we become, the more that I've healed my trauma, the more of a powerful manifester I seem to be. And it's not a coincidence, it's intentional, right? Because it is essentially stopping our true light from going out and being and magnifying and then pulling in our reality, right? Matching those higher frequencies. And so, a lot of times too, I see a lot of toxic positivity, right? I have all this trauma here, but I'm going to ignore it, right? I'm going to push it down. I'm going to suppress it. And I'm going to just focus, look at all the birds and the pretty things and the flowers. And that's all that exists for me. But what we don't understand that what this trauma is, it's festering underneath the surface. And so it continues to poison the system. So as much as we can want to ignore it and think that we don't want to look at it because, if we look at the negative, the dark stuff, then we're going to manifest that. And then that's not what we want. So we want to look only at the flowers over here. But that, part of the healing is integrating the shadow and the light, right? So we can't stay in that toxic positive zone and expect to create better results. We have to go into the darkness. We have to, I like to say the healer isn't afraid to look at the wound. So if you're looking about healing yourself, you have to go into the wound. You have to tend to the wound. You have to understand the wound. You have to bring that into the light. What is enlightenment, right? Enlightenment is bringing things from the dark into the light, bringing things from the subconscious mind into the conscious mind, being aware of it and working on it consistently to heal it and to change the narrative in which we tell ourselves the stories and really disrupting the pattern, right? Disrupting the pattern, the neurological pattern, the emotional pattern, the thought patterns, right? Because we are creatures of habit, and we just need to continue to change those habits with discipline, right? With love and with compassion. And yes, absolutely. The pain body is an important thing to always integrate into ourselves. Like, we are more than just this physical being. And so really going deep within, and, a lot of times I think that's the most uncomfortable work, having a lot of my clients thinking that I'm going to help them, just like give them like a magic pill or like a one-step solution to like cure all of their problems. And it's like, no. Well, they're like, oh, how do I feel better? I'm like, you don't feel better. You sit in how you feeling like shit right now. We sit with that, and then we allow it to teach us something, right? Because at the bottom of every deep wound is an also equally profound and powerful soul lesson. And if we don't allow ourselves to sink into it, then we don't get to learn it, we don't get to integrate it, and we continue to run from it. So hopefully that answers.
Diana, I'm glad that you mentioned toxic positivity. It's something I see a lot. I even see it in myself and recalibrate. And I'd love for you to kind of talk about that a little more, where that comes from, do you think, and how to acknowledge when it's happening.
Mm-hmm. So toxic positivity, I think, just comes from people believing, and it comes from good intentions, obviously people that have learned about The Secret and manifestation, they're like, okay, where, energy goes where attention flows, which is absolutely true. So they believe that, oops. I don't know what just happened. Sorry. I have no idea. It's glitch. Everything is glitching out. So they believe that through only giving energy to the positive things in their lives and not paying attention to all of the things that are hurting them underneath, they're going to create a better reality. But again, right, when we think about that being the poison that's in the system, the virus, right, it's continuing to still operate regardless if we are or giving it attention or not, because it lives within us, it's in us. And so how you can spot it, you can spot it if you feel like you're forcing yourself to ignore something. You can spot it if you feel like the authenticity of how you feel, I guess. And maybe that's a little vague, because maybe some people are living from a very inauthentic place, so they actually can't even tell anymore what is authentic and what is not. But for me, when I see it, it's like, if there is an emotional charge to a particular topic, person, situation, trauma, then it's unhealed and it needs to be addressed. And so a lot of times, if I notice it within my clients, if I'm like, let's talk about this, they're like, no, we don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. And I'm like, that for me is like, okay, we're avoiding something here, and I want to go act. And that's exactly where we need to go, And so a lot of times what you're avoiding is what you need the most. And so if you feel like you're in avoidance, if you're literally ignoring pieces of yourself that are screaming to be heard or screaming to be acknowledged, right? A lot of times I say you can't go anywhere without your inner child. Our inner child is a huge part of our of what we're avoiding, right? And part of that toxic positivity, because there is an inner part of us that is asking to be acknowledged, asking to be seen or heard, accepted, loved. And it hurts and it's painful. And because it's painful, we're going to try and sidestep it and just say, no, or I'm just going to look at all the beautiful things I have to be grateful for today. Yes, but there's a schism within you that is stopping you from fully being present and being grateful for what you have today, because there's a part of you that is still suffering, and we can't ignore that. So I think inner child work is a huge part of going into the wound to help to understand, what are you avoiding and why this toxic positivity is not working for you.
Mm-hmm. Would it be appropriate, if you notice that happening in an encounter with someone who you're close with, to acknowledge that specifically with them, to address it, you think? And then how, if so, would you do that?
I'm sorry, you broke up for a second. You said with someone who is close to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how to acknowledge it with someone who is close to you if you see that they're doing that?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% would acknowledge that, because I think that it would help them, helping someone bring awareness to them, I think is always a beautiful gift. But, I've learned to be very gentle when we're navigating people's wounds, right? So most of the time, before I just, interject my opinion into somebody's life, I usually like to ask, like, hi, can I offer you something here? Can I offer you something here? I'm seeing some, discord in what you're stating and what your experience. Can I reflect something here for you? And so I think for me, giving that gift to someone, I don't know, I'm a self-development junkie. So when people want to point things out for me, I'm like, give it to me. I love it, right? Tell me where I'm acting out of alignment. Show me where I'm not being humble. Show me my shadow. I love it, right? But some people may not, respond that way. And so you do want to be gentle when you're navigating into that space where you want to be of service to someone. And then I would also check yourself too, if you're, of course, coming from a place of humble service, because obviously sometimes we could be wanting to push someone past where they're ready to go, which is very dangerous as well. Like, everybody is where they are because that is what they're ready to receive in that moment. And so a lot of times I can see some people, a lot of the coaches that I coach, they get new information and then they want to all of a sudden go push that information out into their network, right? They want to go put it onto their friends, their family, read this, go there, do this, do that. And it's like, they're not ready for that. And so now you're trying to force them into developing or ascending a lot faster than their soul, their spirit is prepared to. And now you're going to reach a lot of resistance here. And you may even lose friends and family members and create more space between you if you're giving. So for me, it's always like, is this person ready to receive this medicine? Are they ready to receive it? Because if they didn't ask for it, then and you're just forcing it down their throat, you're going to do actually a disservice to them. And so you always want to ask for permission. You want to also feel into, if they ask to receive this, hey, can you tell me? Can you show me? So a lot of the times my work, like I don't really try to coach my friends or my family or anything. They hate me if they did, if I would do that. So if they're going to come ask me for advice, then I'll give it to them, but other than that, I just kind of just hold it.
I found myself in that place, Diana, where I've learned something new, or I, had some self-discovery, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, you should do what I'm doing because I just learned it. And I can see how that can be very off-putting. Would you consider that to be like a wounded healer by definition, or what is a wounded healer?
I love the term wounded healer because I feel like I'm one too. I think a wounded healer is someone who has gone through a lot of wounding and has healed themselves and wants to share that healing with others, right? I think most healers have been wounded mostly, right? Because how else would they know how to heal others if they haven't healed themselves yet, right? It's part of our design. But I think part of that is just really being excited about the things you learn and coming from such a good-hearted place that like, oh man, I learned this thing and it helps me so much. And I want to share it with others because I want to help you and I want to help you and I love you. So let me help you do this that I just did. Right. And I think it comes from a little need to from control, right? Because we are obviously in control of ourselves and the information and the lessons that we learn. And so then because I love you, I want to control you and how you learn and how fast you're developing and how much you're intaking and how much you're ascending, because I'm growing and I want to speed you up to where I'm at. And it's also a little bit lack of trust too, because then now you're saying, I don't trust that divine spirit has your journey on the right track. So I don't trust that you're going to get to where I'm getting when you need to. So I'm going to interject myself and speed you up on this fast track that I'm on now, because the way I know is best, right? And so it's almost it's a little condescending too, and it can come, like you said, a little off-putting, and people tend to kind of feel like they're being spoken upon, right? And so it can create some distance. And
Let me do that spiritual bypass for you, like that's what it feels like. But
yeah.
I know I'm totally guilty of that a lot, because I am a wounded healer. I've been through a lot, and trauma has been my greatest teacher as well.
Yeah.
So I am an addict, a recovered addict. I don't want to say I am, because I am no longer an addict. I'm a healer. I've been healed. I'm a cancer survivor. I've had many addictions and traumas in my life, as we all have in some capacity. Yeah. So your journey and the words that you speak are very powerful. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's so beautiful to hear about your own healing journey and how much you've overcome, which is the testament to the strength of the human spirit, right? We are so much stronger than anything that can knock us down. And it all comes, like you said, to help us, to teach us, almost to remind us how strong we are, how capable we are to overcome and to grow past it. So that's so beautiful. Congratulations. Yes.
Diana, plant medicine specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
With plant medicine specifically, you said you wanted to touch on how to utilize it responsibly.
Yes, yes. So, I've been working with ayahuasca. I've worked with all the plant medicines, but ayahuasca specifically for a long time, like 6 going on 7 years now. I've sat in over 80 ayahuasca ceremonies in my lifetime, along with others, Wachuma, and I've done all the things. I've been in Peru several times in my lifetime in the jungle in the Sacred Valley. Angelo asked, what is ayahuasca? Okay, beautiful question. So ayahuasca is a sacred plant medicine used in the Amazon jungle and in neighboring tribes for over 6,000 years. I mean, it's been used by the Mayans, the Incans, the Aztecs. It's been found all over the world in ancient civilizations. And it is a plant that is used to catalyze spiritual healing, to connect deeper to divine mother and spirit, and has been more recently used to cure addictions and mental disorders. And so the way it works chemically in the brain, very similar to how Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, that it actually rewires the neural pathways in our brain when it comes to trauma and the things that we've experienced. And so have you ever watched like a Dr. Joe Dispenza like video where he shows you how this one neural pathway starts here and then it like branches out into like a new neural pathway, which is like, I think is the coolest video ever. But so ayahuasca actually does that when you intake it. It's 2 different plants. It's the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf. And so a mixture of those two plants together allows the DMT to stay within your system long enough to really have these really long-standing sustainable effects on your psyche, on your spirituality, on your entire being. And so, for me, I didn't even realize that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict until I got sober. And and it was crazy to really see how much like my whole being changed after my first ayahuasca ceremony. And so, and it was almost like for me, like I was living in like a fog of my addictions, of my mental disorders. And when I did my first ayahuasca ceremony back in New York and Brooklyn, it like pierced the veil for me and everything dropped. And then I just kind of like disoriented as I was almost like emerging as a new, reborn really is what I call it. I was reborn. And so for me, when I say I'm like 6 or 7 years old, that's kind of how I feel like my life really started, because I wasn't really living a life back then. I was living in survival and, in addiction and all of the illusion that was my suffering. So ayahuasca, quickly became for me an access point, because also my mother having had being bipolar and having a lot of mental disorders. She was on medicine her whole life, pills her whole life. And so I really did not want to go down that route. And my partner in New York at the time was really, encouraging me to like get on medication and do all these things. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to move to California and heal myself holistically, which I did. And then once I really, again, freed myself from all of my suffering, I wanted to pay that forward. So I began working with a shaman and, organizing ayahuasca ceremonies in and around Southern California. So for the past 4 years. And it's been such a beautiful experience to see and give people this gift. But what I really saw was that ayahuasca you can also be codependent on sacred plant medicine to do the work for you. And so I was having people coming to my circles for, 3-4 years and seeing zero change in their lives outside of ceremony. They would come to sit in ceremony, receive the medicine, receive the downloads, receive the healing, purge, do all their things, and go back into their life and continue to live exactly the same way and continue not change anything about what they were doing, their patterns, anything. And it just, and I call that, what I call it spinning out, is like you're taking 5 steps forward, 3 steps back, 10 steps forward, 5 steps back. And it's just like doing this teeter tottering back and forth. And so, what I really understood how to really work with sacred plant medicine. And the most important part of that is the integration. I actually began my coaching business based on being an integration coach for sacred plant medicine journeys. And, obviously my business has transformed and changed since then, but I still do lead people through sacred plant medicine journeys. My clients specifically actually have a retreat coming up at the end of this month. That's an ayahuasca retreat, but also creating the retreat in a way that it fully supports the work around the medicine and giving you the integration, giving you the grounding practices to anchor in all the downloads, all the codes, all the divine, wisdom that you receive in ceremony, and really how to then integrate that into your physical life, right? Because when we're in ceremony, we have one foot in the spiritual world, one foot in the physical world. And then when you come back into the physical world, how do you then move forward? And so the biggest impact that I've seen within my life was when I've had coaches that helped me integrate my sacred plant medicine journeys and all of these things. And so once I saw that, and now I can support others doing that, I really see the impact, the change, the drastic quantum leap that happens in somebody's life when they're doing the work responsibly and not just going to sit in medicine every other week and hoping that, the answer is just going to fall into their lap and everything is going to be good now, and that creates like a codependency with medicine. So a lot of people that, we can, mushrooms, whatever it is, I think they're beautiful healing portals to use, but then how are you showing up in your daily life, day to day? Because that is where the change is the consistent change compounded over time. So does that answer your question? I hope that was helpful.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's great. So when someone is taking ayahuasca in ceremony, is there a fasting I've heard that leads up to that process? And also during it, there's purging both spiritually and physically. Is that correct?
Yes. So there is not a fasting exactly, but it's just a very strict diet. So we are going to cut out anything that is very abrasive to the digestive system. So that's, garlic, onions, any processed foods, sugar, salt, caffeine, spinach, avocados, the list is very long. We're also going to cut out any type of things that are abrasive to the mind, right? So any dramas, any violent TV shows, and no sex for 3 days prior, no alcohol, obviously, no meat products, all of these things. So we're going to try to contain all of the light within the body, right? Because all of those things actually cut our connection with spirit. And it again, it's abrasive to the digestive system. So when we're intaking something like ayahuasca and we do purge, it is going to be very painful. And then spinach and avocados and ripe bananas have a high level of tyramine in it, which actually mixed with the DMT will give you like a very massive headache. So that it's not as abrasive, but it's just very uncomfortable. And then marijuana, obviously we're going to cut that out because usually about a month ahead of time, because THC actually attaches to the same receptors in the brain that the DMT attaches to. So it actually will block the medicine from working, which is a waste. So, yes, the purging is actually the most powerful aspect of the medicine. And there are so many ways that you can purge, not just through vomiting, but through sweating, through crying, through yawning, through going number 2 and and all the different ways in which that you release from your body. And so, and it's not like some people have like this deathly fear of vomiting, and it's not like that painful vomiting, like when you're drunk and you're like throwing up and it hurts so much. It's not like that. Vomiting during an ayahuasca ceremony, it almost does feel like taking a poop, like that relief that you have when you're like, like you like really had like a great, smooth move. But it's the other way. And it's just like, when you get it out, you're like, it's like, thank God, that's so out of me. That's been in me for 20 years, and what's awesome about it too, is that when you are purging, intuitively, exactly what it is you're purging. Like, you know, I've had purges where I'm like, oh my God, that was my self-doubt and my low self-worth that I've been holding on to because I was abused as a child and told that I was stupid or retarded, you know, and all these ways in which I didn't think I was good enough, or my you know, sometime, and or some particular traumas too, like, you know, having been raped in my life and all of these things. Like, when you're actually releasing it, it feels so good to finally let that shit go. And so, you know, there's times where when I'm in a purge, it's almost like a cosmic purge. Like, I'm in like a portal, like the entire room has completely like dissipated. I'm in like this crazy portal, and it's showing me like this like spiral of things that are like coming from like the base of the pits of my being. You know, I've seen little demons come out of like these little things that used to like really, it was like my viciousness, like needing to like protect myself, and this fear, you know, all these survival mechanisms that I had to release. And so yeah, it's an amazing, incredible, you know, plant medicine. And, you know, even my clients right now that are preparing for this retreat, you know, what I had to explain is that the medicine is working right now. If you ever felt called to the medicine is working right now. It is calling you. Everything that is aligning you to eventually sit with the medicine, it's happening right now. So a lot of my clients right now, they're having dreams, they're having downloads. There's no other medicine in this world that begins to work on you before you ever take it. And so, you know, her spirit, grandmother ayahuasca, great grandmother spirit of the earth, she's very, very powerful, very sacred. And yeah, she's my mom, she's my mama. So she's taking really good care of me. And so for me to share that with others is just, it blows my heart wide open.
That's wonderful. What was your first calling to Mama Ayahuasca? Like, when did you first hear the call?
Yeah, well, when I was working back when I was in New York and I was still an addict, I was still in an abusive relationship and all of my toxic patterns. I was working with a shamanic healer who was helping me heal just shamanically. So I don't know if you ever I worked with a shamanic healer. They do the drumming, they get you know, they get the rattle, they're doing things. You're laying there, you don't even know what's going on. You're just receiving it, right? And so she was the one that she was like, you need to do ayahuasca. And what's crazy is that I had no idea what she was talking about. Didn't know what it was, didn't know what it was going to do. But in my core, I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. And like, and for me, and like, you know, so for me, a lot of people, when I see people and they have questions like, well, what is it? What is it going to do? Where are we going to be? What's going to happen? Am I going to, and I'm like, you're not ready. Right. Because a lot of the times for me, it's like, it's a full body yes. It's a full body yes, right? And you have no idea. Like a lot of times when people sign up with me too, like my soulmate clients is what I call them. They don't even know what I do, but they just know they need to work with me, right? And so it's kind of like that. Anytime that you felt a calling that was so deep and you didn't even know why, that's it. That's it right there. So yeah.
That's great. That's well stated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, was there any other topics that we missed? I think those are the 3 topics, right? I would love to answer any particular questions. I just feel like, yeah, again, like I'm wanting to connect with all of you and kind of take a little step into your experience and what you're working through. And if there's any way that I can support you through any specifics that may be kind of, you know, what you're working on, I'd be happy to be of service in that way as well.
What is ayahuasca?
I'm sorry?
What is ayahuasca?
So ayahuasca is a plant medicine. So it's basically an actual tea that's made out of a vine that's found in the Amazon jungle, and a particular leaf called the chacruna leaf that's also found in the Amazon jungle. So the Amazon jungle has so many medicines that can be made from plants, and this is just one of them. And this is one of the most powerful, most well-known plant medicines of the jungle. But there's many other plant medicines that exist in the jungle that can cure incurable diseases, right? There's one shaman that I worked with named Don Augustine, who actually used to be Sting's shaman and rumored to have been Michael Jackson's shaman, but we don't know, right? But and so people come to him with terminal illnesses, with cancers, with, you know, things that like Western medicine was just like, you know what, you got 3 to 6 months to live, we're sorry, right? And they seek him out. And they go and they travel deep into the jungle, and he will put them on like an 11 to 15-day diet of different types of plants to heal them. And you know, he's amazing. So ayahuasca is just one of those things, and one of the most popular, one of the most accessible that we have the access to, and that is for me the most impactful for my life, and what I've seen through my work with it over the past, you know, 6-7 years, how much it can be impactful to others, regardless of what you're working on. Because the thing is, it's a very intelligent medicine. And so, you know, you don't need to tell her, this is what I'm working on and this is what I need. She knows what you want, and she knows how to give it to you, and she knows how to the path of least resistance for you to reach your highest reward. And so it's a very intelligent medicine. Yes. Where do you begin healing childhood traumas with your clients? Oh man, I mean, so for me, oh, I just saw the question above that. I'll respond to that one too. So where do you begin healing childhood traumas with your clients? So for me, I really like to meet my clients where they're at, right? Where are you ready to go into? I'm not going to push you further than where you're capable of going, because then I don't want to re-traumatize you, you know, that's not the point. And so really, you know, and I tell a lot of people that sign up with me, this is, I don't push people through a cookie cutter template of coaching, because there's no way that your soul and their soul and their soul's journey is so different. It's so individual to you and your uniqueness, right? And so where do I begin? I really begin to see, my first question is, what do you want? What do you want? Okay, what is it that you want? Great. Now we hold, this is the goal. This is where we're working to where, and then I evaluate, where are you now? You're here. Okay. From this point to this point, this journey, what is in the way? And then we start to peel back, what is in the way? Oh, my self-doubt. Oh, my fear. Oh, my imposter syndrome. Oh, my self-sabotage. Oh, my trauma. And we start to see what is in the way. Okay, cool. And we start to peel back the layers. Okay, this is in the way. Okay, let's work on that. Okay, boom, what's the next level? What's in the way? Boom, let's work on that. Let's work on that. And we continue to peel back all the distortion, all the false conditioning, all of the trauma that we've experienced. And then before you know it, you get to unlearn all the falsehoods that you've been taught, and you get to remember the truth of who you are. And from that truth, your authentic source of power begins to grow, which eventually ascends you to help you get to what you want. I hope that was helpful. Dominic says, tips on finding, attracting the right shaman for you. Ooh, really good question. So I've had, I've sat like all over the place with with a bunch of different facilitators and shamans and people serving the medicine. And it is very tricky to be, I would always ask if somebody else has sat with them and what their experience was like. Because I made the mistake of going into a ceremony with somebody I didn't know, with somebody that was not of light, was not of love, was not of integrity. And it was a very traumatic experience for me. And luckily I had already been doing work with the medicine for a very long time, that that I was able to hold my own space while I was being spiritually attacked. So I don't want to scare anyone off, but I want you to be very careful about who you decide to sit with. And if anybody would like, any recommendations in and around the California area, I'm happy to help. I also have connections in the Texas area, in the New York area, and in the Florida area. And so if that is of interest to you, and also in Hawaii as well, and also in Peru. So if anybody is of interest, I have great resources for you of people that I've sat with, that I trust, that I know are of integrity. But yeah, it definitely be careful, and definitely ask who they are, who sat with them before, get some reviews, like I wish we could have like a Yelp page for it of like different shamans, but until then we just kind of have to use your intuition, right? Use your intuition, feel into your body. If you feel some resistance, like I shouldn't go to this, I would trust that too. Kevin said, thank you. This is a blessing. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Beautiful.
Do you prefer text or audio? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my question is, like, like this, the spiritual experience you have when you're in that process, and then like, okay, making sure people can function, like back in the physical world. But do you try to help them like not have so much like duality? Because I think some people, like when I'm mentoring like younger people, they're like, oh yes, my spiritual self is over here, and shoot, is it one person, is it one thing, or how do you feel about spiritual and physical? I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
because they're struggling on the physical side.
Yes.
But do you how do you mentor, or help them understand? Because some people actually, like, they don't have any philosophy to live by at all, no belief system at all. Do you help them with that? Because they get hard on themselves for not being spiritual enough, or I'm sorry, I was just trying to go off of what you were saying. Because like you said, they'll have a really good experience with the group and the
There we go.
teacher, and they'll go back over here and they're like, shoot, I'm back to old me,
Right.
I don't know if that was even a question, but
No,
you
I
followed a little bit.
yeah, I get what you're saying. How can we help somebody that is struggling with, going into a journey and seeing how great they are, and then coming back into their regular life and seeing, man, I'm still broke, or I'm still not living in my purpose, or I'm still scared of my own abilities, man. How do I get back to that God-like person I saw here, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, it is, again, a little bit of the peeling back, right? So a part of that journey, and having somebody support you through that, I think is so crucial. No one is above integration, not even me. I have my own coach, I have my own therapist, and I've done a lot of work, but I still need someone to see me and my blind spots and call me out on that. Right? A lot of times I think people think they can do it on their own. Oh, I got it. I'm just going to journal it out and I'll be fine. Not true. We need each other. We're here to help each other. And it's okay to ask for help. And so I think, how do we help? We ask. We just ask for help. Say, hey, I'm really struggling with really coming into because there's time I can know exactly what point. I was in an ayahuasca ceremony years ago, and it was this vision of a curtain, right? And it was like, look behind the curtain, Diana. And I'm like, I don't want to. And they're like, look behind. And I pull back the curtain. And there wasn't an actual visual, but the energy that I felt, it was like how great and massive I was supposed to be, or I am, right? But at the time, I could not accept it. And I literally was just like crying hysterically of my inability to see myself in that way, and I just pulled back the curtain. I said, I'm not ready to be that great in the way that you see me, in the way that God sees us. I was not ready to see myself in that way. And then I went back into my life to live a very small life and do small things and all that stuff. So, and self-sabotage and all these things. So, sometimes people do need to spin out because they need that pain. They need that suffering. They need that bottom to really ignite the fire to then push them through. right? Because again, right, going back to what Angelo said, now you're looking at someone and saying where you're at is not okay, right? Where you are in your development is not good enough. And if they're saying it about themselves and they're asking for help, then you support them. But if they're saying that they don't need it, give them that space to I'm done being the fixer, right? Like a lot of times, if you're a mentor, so am I, we want to fix everyone. We want to fix it. Let me fix you. Let me fix, come over here. I got the tools, right? I'm going to shine you up. But it's hard to, it's sometimes when you love people too, it's hard to see them struggle. Hate to see you struggle that way. When you're ready for me to support you, or you're ready for my help, when you want to really get to the next level, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, and I want to give you that. But until you're ready to stop spinning out, you gotta let them go, because God has a purpose for them too, right? Divine has a soul journey that they're walking through, and we got to trust that too.
So
Oh,
true.
I
agree with
I thought that, so could it be that it's teaching us, it's our journey to learn, hey, like that they need to grow and we need to learn how to step back a little. It's teaching us, like, oh shoot, it's teaching us how to do better at stepping back and letting, God or universe do
Mhm,
its thing.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Is it also teaching us, even though we're supposed to be a teacher, right?
Yeah, we can. When the student is ready, the master will appear.
Yes.
So, I think a lot of us being having such pure hearts and pure intentions to support others, we can often, what we're doing, we're taking a cup of pure liquid gold, right, which is our help, our love, our guidance, and just pouring it down into the ground. Because if somebody is not ready to receive it, it's it's useless, right? It doesn't land. And so how many times have I had people try to tell me, Diana, you're so powerful, you're so amazing, you should be a coach. And I was like, I'm me? No, I can't do that. Right? I'm not going to do that. And so it took me my own journey too. So I think, but obviously when people are asking for the help, when people come and sign up with you as a mentor, come and sign up with me as a coach, they're like, okay, I see where I'm living out of alignment. I'm seeing where I'm not stepping into my power. I see where I'm limited in my beliefs and my lack and scarcity. I need help. Can you please help me? That's when you can pour it on into them and like give it to them. Like, yes, like I want to help take you to where you need to go. Right. And those are the people that are like, they're ready for the work. And so, some people, like I said, they need to spin out a little bit, and that duality is okay. Right? Because it's still part of them, right? It's still perfect in the imperfection. So a lot of times when you said, oh, I'm not as spiritual as I want to be, or I'm not as, that's expectation. And really coming into, we are perfect as we are, even as broken as we think we are, even as not good enough, unqualified, unworthy, all these things. Like, in the divine's eyes, there's nothing wrong with us. We are perfect as we are. And when we come to that acceptance that we are perfect as we are, the journey gets a lot easier. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I was gonna say that made me think of the saying, "God don't make no trash."
Right.
That's what my friend
is
said.
true.
God don't make no trash.
That's very true.
There's no mistakes at all.
What do you think about the ultimate? I mean, we're at 5:00, but I want to ask you this because I'm dying to know. What do you think about the quantum mechanics of it all? There's infinite outcomes in the quantum field. I love Joe Dispenza again, but like, what do you think about that? Like, we're playing out right now one possibility. How do you approach that in your mind?
We're playing out one possibility. Yeah. I mean, there we have, through our decisions, right? We open up different timelines. And so I love when, there's a little bit, so we talked about toxic positivity. Let's talk about passive spirituality. So a lot of times, like, I'm just gonna let whatever be, and whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And which, yes, for sure. But we also have to decide. We also have to take action, and we also have to be clear with our intentions, because that is where we are having a co-creative experience here, right? And we have to be an active participant. So the different timelines is when we get to decide. So when I make a decision, right? So people like, oh, I saw this quote. It said, when you're stuck on a decision because you think that the universe is either going to punish you or reward you for whichever decision you make, which is not true, right? The universe is going to support you in whichever decision you make. And that is what and whether that is the right I'm going to use a different word. It's the decision that's in alignment for you of least resistance or most resistance, you're going to find out, right? And that's part of the lesson. That's part of the journey. And so when we make a decision to go, through path A, and then all of the timelines come to help support that journey, that decision, everything comes in to supplement that and guide you there that way. And if you decided to go B or C, all those different timelines are still going to be support. And here's the thing, where you need to end up, let's say it's here, right? And you went path C, and you think, and it's going to go this way, eventually the universe is going to reroute you. And still in the loopy way that the universe works brings you to what was in your highest, right? What you truly wanted. And so when I talk about clarity creates channels. So if you're clear about what you want, it will create a channel for you to get there. But if you're not clear about what you want, you're just hanging out. Just hanging out. You don't know where you're going, just, chilling. So did that answer your question?
Absolutely. That was
Yeah.
beautifully stated. I love the way you articulate all of these modalities, spiritualities, all the things that you embody and that you share. So thank you so much, Diana. I really appreciate you being here with us.
Oh, my pleasure. This is fun. This is like this is my jam. Like, I love this stuff. So I love talking to like-minded individuals, to kindred souls, people that are doing the work, that are on this journey, that are, you guys are all, if you're here, then you guys are all light workers, right? Because you're in tune with your light and you're shining that out into the world, and you're encouraging and empowering other people through you being your authentic self. That is your medicine, is you, right? We don't ever have to be anybody else. And a lot of the coaches that I'm like, no, don't look at what the industry is telling you to do and who to be, and model yourself after anyone else. You being your most authentic self is medicine to this earth, to everyone around you, to the people in your life, your family, the collective. Why? Because your authentic self is God. Your authentic self is the divine. And when you let that channel through you, you are limitless and your power is immense. And, I think for me, when I really was able to step into who I am, I let go of who I thought I was supposed to be, and just let whoever the fuck I am now is this weird, this weird light being to come through. And I swear when the channels cleared, everything I wanted just began to fall into my lap effortlessly, because I was just being me, right? And so I think that really is the key to everything that we want to unlock. So, I'm so glad I'm here too. How do you contact me? So I'm on Instagram at the Urban Indigo. I don't really have any other channels of stuff right now. I'm working on a website for a year. Who knows if it'll ever happen. But so that's just where I'm at right now. I love you. I have so much love. I can feel just the collective energy of everybody here. I'm so high off of it. So thank you all so much for your hearts, your spirits, your your presence is such a gift. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's much appreciated. You provided so much insight into what it is that you do and how we can tap into our authenticity. So I appreciate your time and everything. I might be a little choppy, hopefully not.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yes, thank you again, Diana. Thank you, everyone, for bringing your energy and your light into this safe space, and it's much appreciated. We've got lots of great guests every week. Each week we have a great guest on the Purveyors of Health every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and thank you so very much, Diana Min. We really appreciate you, Diana at theurbanindigo.com.
Yes, that's my email for some people that don't do social media. So if you feel free to contact me there. Yeah, I do have a retreat coming up at the end of this month. I was thinking, I just had a cancellation this morning, and I was thinking about getting on this call. I'm like, listen, if anybody feels that full body yes, reach out to me. I may have an opportunity for you guys to come in and do this work on an in-person level. So yeah, Victoria will be there, and she'll be helping me work on that. And so yeah, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, Angelo, for having me. Thank you, Mallory, for coordinating this and having me. And I wish you so much love and throughout your journey. Angela said, I've never done Aya, but been called to her. I mean, Portland's not a far away from San Diego, so you know where to find me.
I'll probably see you down there soon.
All right. I look forward to it. All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
You
guys.
too.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Diana. Thank you,
Namaste.
Angelo, Mallory.